Romans shared a single toilet sponge between hundreds of people. Elite women brushed their teeth with urine. Gladiator sweat was bottled and sold as luxury perfume. Tonight, you'll experience the most disgusting hygiene practices in ancient history, then drift peacefully to sleep as we leave this filthy empire behind. You step through the marble doorway of a Roman villa in the year 150 AD. The morning sun filters through painted columns, but the air is thick with rancid olive oil, sweat baked into linen, and something far worse. You haven't just entered ancient Rome, you've entered a world where there is no soap, no privacy, and no shame, where bodily oils are sacred, not discarded, where public baths are cleaner in myth than reality, where cleanliness was not about sanitation, but status. This is not the Rome of marble temples and noble speeches. This is the Rome of shared scrapers, lead cosmetics, and communal latrines. This is your Rome. Because tonight you'll live it, and then you'll leave it, gently, gradually, falling into deep, peaceful sleep as the filth of empire fades into dream. Subscribe to Stone Sleeper Stories for weekly immersive journeys through history's strange, forgotten, and fascinating corners, all told in a calm voice designed to carry you off to sleep. Now close your eyes, let go of the modern world, and take one slow step into the shadowed marble halls of ancient Rome. You wake to soft sunlight filtering through sheer linen curtains. The marble beneath your bare feet is still cool from the night, though the air is already warming. Outside, the villa's fountain bubbles lazily, its scent of moss and old water drifting inside like the breath of the ancient city. You are in Rome, 150 AD, and today you will attempt to cleanse yourself. There is no soap in your world, not the kind you know. Instead, a servant offers you a shallow clay dish of olive oil. The surface glistens greenish-brown, and as you bring it closer, the smell hits you. Sharp, sour, rancid. This oil has been sitting in the sun too long. It is ripened like fruit gone bad. This is your cleanser. You pour it across your arms, your chest, your legs. The oil does not soothe. It suffocates. It clings in the crooks of your knees, beads in your navel, drips along the arch of your spine. It doesn't lather, it slides. You reach for the strigil. It's a tool of polished bronze, slightly curved like a crescent moon. You press it to your shoulder and drag it down. Oil, dead skin, sweat, all scrape off in gray ribbons that curl on the floor like shed skin. Again and again, you repeat the motion, scraping your body until it reddens. This is Roman hygiene. No soap, no water, just oil and metal and repetition. You look around. The other citizens in the bath courtyard perform the same ritual without thought. A senator methodically drags his strigil along his thigh, eyes half closed. His son scrapes his arms with unpracticed haste. A matron dips her strigil into rose-scented oil, though the flowers barely mask the rot. To them, this is normal. To you, it is ritual, uncomfortable, almost sacred in its oddness. And still the oil clings. The scraping becomes a rhythm, a music of metal on flesh. Shh, shh, shh. Around you, Dozens of Romans glide their strigils down oil-slicked skin in practiced, almost meditative movements. The courtyard echoes with it. Not loud, not sharp, but persistent. It's the song of morning ablutions in the empire's heart. This is not your private ritual. Here in the villa's bath complex, hygiene is public theater. Bronze mirrors hang on marble pillars, warped and dulled with age. You catch your own reflection, a sheen of sweat, oil, and dead skin half cleansed. You're surrounded by figures in various states of undress. Senators, merchants, slaves. Some chat about politics. Others groom silently. There's no shame in nakedness here. No boundaries. A boy passes you a damp linen cloth, not for modesty, there is none, but for wiping your strigil clean. You notice his tunic bears the mark of the tonsor, a bathhouse attendant. His eyes don't meet yours. He's done this hundreds of times. You continue. Every scrape draws up more filth. The oil loosens what clings to you, the dust of the forum, the grime of yesterday's sweat, the faint smell of last night's wine. And still you do not feel clean. You feel scrubbed, polished like stone, but not clean. A man beside you coughs, a wet, phlegmy bark that echoes against the marble. You glance over. His strigil is cracked, his skin raw. He keeps scraping. His eyes don't blink. In the distance you hear laughter, women at the other end of the courtyard comparing perfumes. Their strigils are carved, gilded with silver. Their oil has been steeped in myrrh. You realize this. In Rome, even filth is stratified. You are no longer scraping dirt from your skin, you are scraping the hierarchy of Rome itself. And now a servant calls for the next part of the ritual, the latrina. The strigil song fades, and in its place, a silence heavy with expectation. You follow the others toward the door, toward the public latrine, toward something far worse than the oil.
The door opens, and the scent changes. Gone is the sour olive oil. In its place, a sourer truth. Human waste, salt water, old ammonia, and something earthy, like damp stone layered in centuries of use. You step into the latrina publica, the public toilet of Rome. It is beautiful. It is horrifying. A long marble bench stretches across the room like a throne divided into 20 seats. Each seat is a neat, rounded hole. Each hole connects to the flowing water beneath, a primitive sewage channel carrying away the remains of hundreds. Beneath your feet, the system gurgles faintly, a Roman marvel of engineering. And yet there is no privacy, none at all. Men sit side by side, elbows touch. Robes are hiked up with casual indifference. They discuss politics, laugh about gladiator matches, whisper gossip about senators' wives, all while relieving themselves. You hesitate, but your bladder will not wait, and in Rome, this is how it's done. You lower yourself, the marble is cold and smooth. You sit between two strangers who barely acknowledge your presence. One is discussing the price of Syrian silk, the other picks his teeth with a bone sliver. And then comes the moment you dread most. To your left, in a shallow basin of cloudy salt water, rests the Tersorium, a sea sponge, wet and gray, impaled on the end of a wooden stick. It drips. You've heard of this, the communal cleaning tool of Rome. No separate rolls of paper, no personal towels, just this single shared sponge, passed from hand to hand, soaked in a basin meant to clean between uses. The man beside you dips the sponge, wipes himself with practiced grace, and, without breaking conversation, holds it out to you. Still wet, still warm. You take it. You do what must be done. And as you rinse it in the same basin for the next person, something inside you breaks. A small, quiet realization. Rome is mighty, glorious, and revolting all at once.
You emerge from the latrine humbled, but not finished. Now comes the heart of Roman cleanliness, the thermae. A vast domed chamber opens before you, veiled in rising steam. The ceilings stretch high above, painted in faded frescoes of Neptune, dolphins, and winged nymphs, their eyes half washed away by centuries of moisture. Marble pillars gleam with condensation. The air is hot, thick, and heavy with the smell of sweat, oil, damp limestone, and something else, like rot sealed in heat. This is the Caldarium, the hot bath. Naked bodies wade through pools of lukewarm water. Others lounge on stone benches, their skin gleaming, their strigils lying beside them like used cutlery. Steam curls from their mouths as they speak in low voices. The sound of splashing echoes like ancient rain. You step forward, feet sliding slightly on the wet stone. No soap, no drain. The water before you is still, slightly green, slightly cloudy. It has not been changed in days. The same water has cradled dozens of bodies, absorbed their oil, their skin, their cuts and coughs. You enter slowly. The heat envelops you first, then the thickness. The water is not cleansing, it is heavy. A strange film clings to your limbs as you lower yourself in. To others, this is luxurious. To you, it feels like bathing in shared memory and shared filth. To your right, a man with a rash on his back dunks himself beneath the surface. To your left, two slaves tend to a nobleman, scrubbing his feet with pumice as dead skin sloughs away like petals. You see small clumps drift past. You look away. Some speak of the baths as holy. Some call them the pride of Roman engineering. You begin to understand. It is all true. And yet, you feel the sickness here. It hides beneath the glamour, beneath the marble, the mosaics, the grandeur. It swims beside you. You dry yourself in silence. A rough linen cloth soaks up the last of the bathwater, but not the feeling, not the smell. You are led through a curtained archway, past a small garden atrium where rosemary grows in clay pots, and into a side chamber reserved for women. Here, the air is lighter, perfumed, quiet. But beneath that sweetness, a different kind of horror lingers. Roman women are gathered in half-circle mirrors of polished bronze. Their attendants move like dancers, tending to hair, skin, teeth. You hear soft voices speaking of weddings, of gossip, of the best time to bear a child. Laughter hums like bees, incense smoke drifts in coils. It looks serene, but as you observe, the rituals unfold. One woman dips her toothbrush, a chewed stick of fig wood, into a small dish. The mixture inside is yellow, viscous, and unmistakable. Urine, human urine. She brushes gently, lips parted, teeth bared. Her gums are red, raw, but she smiles as she scrapes. They believe the ammonia whitens their teeth. They are right. It also burns. Nearby, another noblewoman sits with a small pot of face paste. It's pure white, like milk left to curdle. She spreads it across her cheeks and forehead. Her skin glows, yes, but you know what lies beneath. Lead. White lead mixed with vinegar. Roman foundation. It covers blemishes and imparts status, but in time it poisons the blood, thins the hair, turns the skin gray. It takes months, years, but it always leaves its mark. Many women have no eyebrows, no lashes. They paint those on too. One servant scrapes a tiny vial into her mistress's hair. It glistens gold. You ask what it is. She whispers, "Gladiator sweat." Scraped from the bodies of dying men, still warm, still bloody, it's bottled and sold as hair tonic. The Romans believe it holds strength, vitality. They rub it into their scalps like sacred oil. You watch a woman massage it in, her eyes half closed. She sighs, and you begin to understand. Here in the empire, vanity is holy, and poison is part of the price. You step back into the main corridor of the baths, where the heat fogs your vision and footsteps echo like whispers from the underworld. The frigidarium, the cold plunge, lies ahead, a final, bracing ritual to seal the cleansing. You approach the pool. Its surface is still as obsidian. The air here is colder, damper, a relief. You lower yourself in, goosebumps bloom across your skin. For a moment, the silence is comforting, but then you feel it, a sting. Not from the cold, from something else. Your skin is raw, your pores open. And so is everyone else's. Around you, dozens of Romans soak in the same water. Some scratch their arms, others cough quietly. A child with a rash kicks happily nearby. Behind you, an older man winces, covering a boil with his towel. There is no filtration, no cleansing of the water, no concept of bacteria, not yet. This is not healing. It is fermentation. The Romans are proud of their engineering. Their pipes bring water from mountains, their aqueducts span valleys. But inside these baths, the water rests too long. It ages, it absorbs. You glance down and see a sliver of something floating. Skin? A thread of hair? You can't be sure. You look away. And that's when you notice the tiles. Beautiful mosaics, yes, but chipped. Cracked in corners, the grout dark with mold. In some crevices, tiny blooms of green and black. You feel it growing, creeping, quietly enduring beneath centuries of splendor. A priest of Apollo once said, illness was caused by imbalance, not filth. But here, beneath the empire's marble skin, you know what breeds in still water and scraped flesh. You rise, dripping, and vow not to return here soon. The sun is setting now. Its golden light slants low across the domes and rooftops of the eternal city. You walk through quieter streets, your body weary but clean, or as clean as a Roman day will allow. The scent of baked bread drifts from a nearby thermopolium, and you hear a lyre being plucked softly from behind a shaded balcony. The chaos of the day fades. Children play in courtyards, chasing hoop sticks and laughing, their feet dusty and bare. Mothers call them in for supper. Cloaks are drawn tighter as the evening breeze picks up. You hear water trickling in a fountain carved from old stone, lion mouths still spitting stream after stream, just as they have for 100 years. You pass a woman lighting a clay lamp with a flick of flint and wool. The flame flickers gently in the dusk. And now the city is changing. The loud becomes soft. The urgent becomes still. Strigils are hung up for the night. Tersoria are rinsed one last time. And behind every door, families gather. Roman, flawed, proud, wrapped in togas and gossip and small rituals of comfort. You walk alone now, past the bathhouses, past the latrines, past the villa where your journey began. The horrors of the day, the shared sponge, the toxic cosmetics, the cloudy waters, begin to feel distant, as though they happened in another lifetime, another world. But they didn't. They were real. This was Rome, and it was beautiful, and it was foul, and it was alive. You sit on a stone bench beneath a fig tree, its leaves rustling like paper in the evening wind. A single olive drops beside you. You close your eyes, and the night breathes around you, warm, ancient, human. You lie on a simple straw mattress in the upper room of a Roman insula. The moonlight spills in through a small window, painting soft silver lines across the clay wall. In the distance, the city murmurs, a low hum of taverns closing, sandals on stone, the occasional bark of a street dog. Beneath your fingertips, the fabric of your linen tunic is rough but dry. Your body aches from the day's rituals, the scraping, the soaking, the walking, but your mind is quiet now. The city, for all its grime and noise and oddities, is finally still. You hear your own breath, and then, just faintly, the splash of a fountain below. A sign that life, even now, keeps flowing. You think of all you have seen, the shared sponge, the leaded faces, the vinegar and sweat, the baths of ghosts and gods, and you marvel at it. Because even in the filth there was ritual, even in the decay there was dignity, even in the worst of it they were trying to be clean, trying to be beautiful, trying to be Roman. And now you're part of that story, if only for tonight. The mattress shifts beneath you. A breeze stirs the edge of the curtain, and slowly, softly, you let go. Let the ancient oils and dust fall away. Let the marble corridors drift from your memory. Let sleep take you, clean or not, into a world far gentler than the one you've left behind.
The sun hasn't yet risen, but Rome is already alive. You wake to the sound of footsteps overhead, neighbors rising, creaking across wooden floors, fetching water from the shared stairwell jar. Voices murmur, a cough, a distant clatter of amphorae. You roll from your mattress and stretch. The air smells of old wool and ash. There is no soap, no toothpaste. You splash your face with cold water and wipe it dry with the corner of your tunic. That's your morning ritual, like most Romans. Outside, the alley is buzzing. Vendors set up stalls, brushing flies from yesterday's leftovers. Street sweepers toss handfuls of perfumed herbs, rosemary, mint, and rue, into the cobblestones, in a feeble attempt to mask the stink of human waste and spoiled wine. It doesn't work. You pass a slave cleaning chamber pots by hand. She hums softly, dipping them into a barrel of gray water. The smell is staggering. You move quickly. As you head toward your daily errands, perhaps to the forum or the bakery or your patron's home, you begin to notice the city's natural perfume. It's not flowers. It's not spice. It is sweat, oil, urine, blood, grease, rotten fish, burning hair, wet wool, pigs, men. And yet, no one complains. This is just Rome. It is, in its way, the scent of civilization. You cross a public square where workers eat breakfast, flatbread dipped in cheap wine. A dog licks vomit from a broken tile. 2 boys play dice in the dust, their feet blackened from the street. A beggar bathes himself using a broken jug. A senator walks by, holding his robe away from the ground. But even he must breathe this air. You do not think of cleanliness. You think only of survival. And so begins your Roman morning.
The smell hits you before the sight does. As you turn into the market street, the McCallum, the stench clings to your face like damp cloth. It is coppery, rich, and unmistakable. Blood, fat, awful. A stew of smells that turns your stomach even as it waters your mouth. The butcher's stall is already busy. A man cleaves through a goat leg with a bronze axe, the blows sending specks of red across his bare arms. A pig's head hangs from a hook, flies settled in its empty sockets like worshippers in a shrine. Beneath the wooden tables, blood seeps through the cracks and drains into the street. The gutter is dark with it, mixing with rainwater, urine, and the day's filth to form a sluggish crimson trickle that winds its way past your sandals. You step aside, narrowly avoiding a splash. Children gather nearby to collect scraps, tongues, kidneys, bone ends, anything their parents can boil into stew. A boy slips and lands in the filth. He laughs. His mother doesn't. She slaps his arm hard and drags him upright by his tunic. The butcher grunts and calls for another carcass. A donkey arrives, dragging a cart stacked with hares, lambs, chickens, some still twitching. The air is a fog of feathers and fur and blood. There is no ice, no preservation. What isn't sold today will rot by nightfall. You pass another stall, this one for fish. Even worse, the stink of salt and rot is overwhelming. A pile of eels writhes in a basin, their skins slick with slime. A woman buys 3 and wraps them in cabbage leaves. You think of dinner, and you think again. This is Rome's food chain. Fresh, brutal, intimate. You move on, your sandals stained. There is more horror to see.
You turn down a quieter lane, hoping for a break from the blood and bile of the morning. But what awaits you is something stranger and somehow more disturbing. You've entered the tonsur's shop, the Roman hairdresser and barber. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of scorched hair, hot coals, and bitter perfume. A young woman sits before a bronze mirror, her face pale beneath thick layers of white paste. Her maid holds a small clay dish of crushed lead powder mixed with vinegar. It is makeup. The white face is a Roman sign of beauty, a ghostly mask hiding blemishes, aging, and sometimes disease. But the price is poison. Over time, this lead seeps into the skin,
blackens the teeth, thins the hair. You can see the signs already: trembling fingers, sunken eyes. The hairdresser, a wiry man with stained fingers, holds a heated iron rod near her temple. The curling begins, hair twisted into tight spirals, the smell of burning flesh rising. She winces, but does not complain. Another woman is having her eyebrows plucked with a seashell shard. Another applies coal, ground charcoal and soot, to darken her eyes. And then beside them, a matron sits with a jar of ointment. A label reads, "Gladiator Sweat," with oil and blood. You watch, stunned, as she dips her fingers in and massages it into her scalp. She believes it brings strength, vitality, fertility. No one questions it. It is expensive. That is enough. A boy nearby sharpens razors on a leather strap. Another pours oil into a shallow pan to be warmed over a brazier. Beauty here is not gentle. It is scorched, masked, burned, bleached. And the price is paid in flesh. You follow the narrow stone corridor into a Roman culina, the kitchen. It is dark, smoky, and stifling. Kitchens are tucked to the corners of Roman homes, often without chimneys. The air is thick with soot and the sharp scent of vinegar, meat, and fire. A servant crouches near the hearth, feeding animal dung into the coals. There is little wood in Rome. Dried dung burns longer, cheaper. The flames lick at a clay pot hanging by iron hooks, and the smell that rises is not unpleasant, but it carries a strange sourness. You look inside the pot. Stew, thickened with crushed lupin beans and maybe a scrap of pork skin. A cook is grinding herbs in a mortar: cumin, coriander, and silphium, the last so rare it's worth more than gold. Used to flavor, to preserve, to seduce. Beside him, a bowl of garum, fermented fish sauce, sits open. It bubbles faintly in the heat. The smell is overpowering, sharp, salty, rotten. He adds a spoonful to the stew. You glance at the shelf: wine stored in wax-sealed jars, vegetables pickled in brine, eggs stored in ash. A tray of snails is dusted with milk and honey. They will be eaten alive. A child sneezes. No one flinches. The kitchen is a temple of fire and fermentation, of rot and ritual. There are no gloves, no refrigeration, no sterilization. And yet, this is survival. This is dinner. This is family. You hear a woman shout in the next room. A pan falls. Laughter follows. This is Rome at its most intimate. The hearth is warm. The air is foul. The meal is ready.
By afternoon, the streets pulse with heat, and you, like many Romans, turn toward the baths. You step through towering archways into the Thermae, Rome's public bathing complex, a palace of marble, steam, and sweat. The ceilings rise above you like a basilica, echoing with laughter and splashing water. The walls drip with condensation. At first, it seems like luxury. There are cold baths, frigidarium, warm baths, tepidarium, and boiling hot chambers, caldarium, where steam clouds the air. Mosaics shimmer beneath the water. Sunlight spills through high windows. But then, you notice the bodies. Not just the healthy. The diseased bathe too. Skin lesions, fungal infections, open sores, all submerged in the same pool.
An old man with scabs on his arms eases himself into the water beside you. No one says a word. No one stops him. You move to another room, seeking relief. But there, in the steam, you see men scraping themselves with strigils, flinging oil, dirt, and sweat onto the floor, where a slave collects the mess in clay bowls. The scent of old oil and skin rises like incense. The benches are slick with use. The drains struggle to carry away the waste. A rat darts between cracks in the wall. You pass through a massage chamber where men are pounded with fists and anointed with pungent salves. In another corner, a man bleeds from the nose, while a barber applies leeches to his back, a treatment for headaches. You begin to feel unclean. Not from lack of washing, but from what you've seen. Still, you stay. Because this is where Romans come to unwind, to gossip, to breathe. And so do you. You sink into the water. The filth fades for a moment.
The sky glows amber as you return home. Evening in Rome brings meals and worship, often at the same time. You enter a modest home, perhaps your own or your host's, where statues of Lares, the household gods, watch from a smoky niche in the wall. Incense curls upward from a cracked dish. A piece of burnt bread is offered in thanks. Dinner is served on a low table. No chairs, you recline on cushions, propped on one elbow, as Romans do. Plates of boiled cabbage, lentils soaked in vinegar, and garum-slicked fish arrive one by one. The scent of fermented sauce clings to the air. But it's not the food that lingers, it's the breath. There is no toothpaste, no mouthwash. Guests chew myrrh resin or burnt bread crusts to mask the smell, but the effect is mild. Garlic, wine, and decay perfume every laugh. You watch a man excuse himself to spit phlegm into the corner. Another wipes his nose with his sleeve. A third picks meat from his teeth with a bronze pin and wipes it on the couch. Conversation flows. Stories are told. Wine is poured again and again. The cups are shared. The lips are not cleaned. A girl serves honeyed dates from a bowl. Her fingers touch each one before offering it to you. You do not refuse. The flicker of oil lamps gives the room a golden softness. For a moment, it feels like peace. But in your stomach, the stew churns, and in your mind, a quiet thought returns. Everything here is beautiful and filthy, and still you eat. Because this is Rome, because this is life, because no one else sees it as strange.
Night falls over the city. The heat retreats, but the filth remains, and someone must deal with it. You step out into the alley behind the house. It is dark now, but not quiet. You hear carts creaking, wheels bumping over cobblestones, and low voices muttering like wind through broken teeth. These are the night soil men, Rome's waste collectors. Their carts are piled with human refuse from the public latrines, the chamber pots of noble homes, the gutters and drains where rot has gathered like old secrets. The smell is unbearable, but the pay is worse. They carry rakes, buckets, and foul dignity. No one thanks them, no one looks at them. By torchlight, they scrape the streets. Their feet sink into the sludge near the forums. They lift offal from the corners of temples. They scoop rotting vegetables, dead animals, the entrails of markets and kitchens. One man pushes a wheelbarrow loaded with straw-soaked feces, a broken amphora benedged beneath the pile. Another pours urine from clay jars into a cistern to be used in tanning leather and bleaching cloth. Urine is currency here. Waste is business. You step back into shadow as they pass, their faces hidden beneath cloth wraps soaked in vinegar to dull the stench. And still, the city glows. Windows flicker with oil lamps. Children sleep, priests whisper. The filth keeps moving. Rome is eternal, its glory shining, its secrets festering beneath. And in the quiet, you understand. Even civilization walks on a bed of rot.
You return to your bed, a narrow wooden frame stretched with ropes, covered by a straw-filled mattress that creaks beneath your weight. The shutters open. Moonlight spills across the wall, catching the edge of a bronze mirror and the folds of a linen tunic tossed to the floor. The city is quieter now. You hear a fountain burble in the distance, the soft shuffle of sandals. A donkey brays once far away. The air smells of cooling stone, last night's ashes, and a faint sweetness, perhaps from crushed laurel leaves burned in a neighbor's hearth. You lie back and reflect on the day. The olive oil still lingers on your skin. The sponge's memory still burns in your hand. The lead-sweetened perfume still floats near your nose. You think of all you've witnessed, the baths, the makeup, the food, the filth, and how no one seemed to mind. You stare at the ceiling beams, listening to the breathing of others in the household. Rome may not be clean, but it is alive, loud, proud, vast, and full of rituals, some meant to cleanse, others to hide. The marble city sleeps. So do you. Wrapped in linen, beneath the weight of 100 unspoken smells, beneath a sky no one thinks to question. You dream now not of purity, but of running water. You wake with the sun warming your feet through the open shutters. A servant brings water in a bronze basin. It's lukewarm and cloudy, reused from another's wash. You splash your face and reach for the polished silver mirror. Your reflection is blurred, imperfect, ancient. But it's time for the morning transformation. In the next room, a noblewoman prepares her face. You are invited to watch. She sits before a low vanity made of cedarwood, surrounded by jars of crushed minerals, animal fat, and chalky paste. Her servant begins to apply the signature Roman whiteface, made from cerussa, or white lead. It clings thickly to the skin. It poisons slowly. Her lips are tinted with red ochre mixed with rust scraped from a bronze blade. Her eyebrows are reshaped with charcoal and soot. Her hairline is painted higher with more white pigment to suggest nobility. You watch her cheeks flush, not with health, but with cinnabar, a red powder made from mercury ore. Her smile reveals stained teeth. She'll later brush them with powdered pumice or rinse with urine, believing it strengthens enamel. There is no laughter, only ritual. There is no safety, only tradition. And when the transformation is done, she is stunning. But the beauty is sickly, the glamour toxic. And yet this is power. You are next.
The servant holds the white paste toward your face. You hesitate, but only for a moment.
Later that day, you find yourself in the company of Rome's wealthiest matrons, gathered not at the market, but near the arena. A gladiator match has ended. Blood still stains the sand. The cheers have faded. What remains behind is ritual. Slaves rush into the ring, not to tend to the wounded, but to collect. They scrape sweat and oil from the bare torsos of the fighters with curved strigils, gathering the mixture into small jars. You follow them back to the villa. There, in a cool courtyard, noblewomen line up to buy this essence of combat. They believe gladiator sweat has mystical properties. It can cure infertility, stimulate desire, even ease headaches. One woman massages it into her scalp, thick, salty, slightly tinged with blood. Another stirs it into her perfume vial. Nearby, a merchant offers ground mouse bones as a skin treatment. Another sells bat blood for hair dye. There is a jar labeled simply mummy dust. Everything here is used for healing, or for illusion. You enter the apothecary chamber, a dark room lined with clay jars, animal skins, and desiccated herbs. A slave grinds beetle shells into powder. Another boils viper flesh into paste. The smell is sweet at first, then sharp, then unbearable. Still, the women laugh. They say beauty requires sacrifice. You were beginning to understand how much.
You enter a domus belonging to a wealthy senator. His wife is ill, not with plague or injury, but with something softer, imbalance. The physician has arrived. He carries a leather satchel filled with bronze tools, dried herbs, glass vials, and instruments more fitting for a blacksmith than a healer. You watch as he unwraps each one with care. Hooks, scalpels, forceps, and a drill. His first act is not to examine her. It is to bleed her. From a pale arm, a cut is made. The blood is caught in a small bowl painted with birds. He watches the color, judges the flow, declares her too hot. You learn that Roman medicine is based on humors, 4 liquids inside the body that must be balanced like wine in a cup. Blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Too much of one, you are ill. Too little, you are mad. Next, he applies leeches, small wriggling creatures stored in a clay pot. They fasten to her skin and drink in silence. Later, he offers a suppository made of crushed garlic and goose fat. She accepts it without flinching. There are no questions, only obedience. You glance at the physician's scrolls. They contain remedies for every condition, but few cures. Sore throat, gargle vinegar and ash. Fever, drink boiled mint and rabbit dung. Outside, the sound of a flute drifts through the courtyard. Inside, a woman is being healed by ritual and guesswork. And you realize, in Rome, to be rich is to suffer differently, but not necessarily less.
In the stillness of late afternoon, the house falls quiet. A servant approaches the atrium and whispers of a passing. An elderly matron in the neighboring villa has died. You are invited to witness her final beautification. In Rome, even death wears makeup. You enter the mortuary chamber, lit only by oil lamps flickering against red-painted walls. The air is heavy with myrrh, rosewater, and the faint scent of old skin. The body lies on a low marble table, pale, still. Her hands are crossed, her mouth gently tied shut with linen. But the work has only begun. 2 women, Professional mourners and embalmers prepare the face. They apply the same white lead paste she wore in life, now thickened with powdered marble to mask the green tinge of her skin. Red pigment is dabbed to her lips. A line of charcoal defines her eyes. A small coin is pressed to each eyelid, not for payment to the ferryman, but to keep the sockets closed. A garland of withered violets is woven into her gray hair. Her jewelry is chosen carefully, not too opulent, not too simple. Her status must be seen, but her death must be beautiful. You watch in reverent silence. The final touch is perfume, not for her, but for the guests. The room is fumigated with burning cinnamon and saffron, masking the scent of decay. And as she is carried out to the mourning platform, you feel the shiver of ancient elegance. In Rome, death is just another performance, another ritual of vanity.
You move from the tiled atriums of the elite into the private quarters of Rome's most powerful women. This is not a marketplace or a temple. It's a boudoir of transformation. But what you witness inside is anything but soothing. The lady of the house sits before a polished bronze mirror. Her maid crushes red ochre and cinnabar in a shallow bowl, mixing the powder with oil until it forms a thick paste. This is her rouge, made from mercury. You watch her dab it onto her cheeks, smiling faintly. Her lips are stained with lead-based lipstick, her skin powdered ghostly white from ceruse, a deadly mix of vinegar and powdered lead. Each layer is a mask of status and a sentence. Her eyes water slightly from the sting of coal, laced with antimony. She blinks and carries on. Beauty is pain, and in Rome, beauty is survival. Her servants rub chalk and vinegar onto her arms to lighten them, then apply paste from mashed figs and pumice to exfoliate dead skin. You can still see the sores beneath. She doesn't flinch. To Roman eyes, this is elegance. To yours, it is alchemy gone wrong. Perfumes are next, oil infused with civet, a secretion from a wildcat, and myrrh so aged it smells like incense and rot. It is smeared behind the ears, on the neck, between the breasts. The air becomes dense, a cloying fog of wealth and decay. She reaches for a vial marked in painted ink, Sanguis Victoris. It is the sweat of a fallen gladiator, mixed with dust from the arena. She dabs it along her hairline, a potion meant to summon youth and borrow strength from the dying. This is the secret Rome keeps behind velvet curtains, that power and poison often wear the same face.
You leave the perfume-thick boudoir behind and descend into a quieter, colder part of the domus, the physician's chamber, where Roman medicine hums in hushed tones and open wounds. It smells of boiled vinegar and bruised herbs, but the underlying note is something metallic: blood, rust, and bronze. The medicus, Rome's physician, greets you not with warmth, but calculation. His eyes study your body like a map to be navigated or cut open. He offers a diagnosis based not on heartbeat or breath, but on the balance of your humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. If you're sluggish, it's excess phlegm. Anxious? Too much yellow bile. Sad? The blackness has risen in your spleen. He has a solution for all of it, and none of it feels healing. You watch him prepare a cupping ritual. He heats a bronze dome over flame, then places it on the bare back of a patient, drawing purple blisters as the skin bubbles upward. Another is being bled, the inside of his elbow sliced cleanly while a servant collects the blood in a clay dish. The medicus believes this will lower the fever. The patient faints instead. A young boy lies on a slab beside you. His stomach is distended, and the physician suggests a purge, a bitter brew of crushed wormwood and honeyed urine designed to flush the bowels. His mother watches, praying to Asclepius, god of healing, as the boy drinks and shudders. You examine the tools laid out nearby. Scalpels stained dark at the edges, catheters carved from ivory, syringes made from reeds. There is a trephination saw, used to bore into the skull and let evil spirits escape. It worked once, they say, or maybe twice. Pain was never a concern. Roman medicine treats illness like war, and you are the battlefield.
The medicus leads you deeper, into his storeroom where treatments are prepared and stored away from the sight of polite society. It's dimly lit by a single oil lamp, its flame casting long shadows across the shelves. Rows of terracotta jars labeled in fading ink crowd the walls. Their contents are a morbid inventory of belief. Powdered oyster shells, burnt pig's teeth, crushed lizard tail, dried wolf liver, and human placenta suspended in wine. You run your fingers over a scroll pinned to the wall, recipes from Galen, the great Roman physician, written in looping Latin. One formula mixes crushed pearls with vinegar and camel urine to treat melancholy. Another promises to restore male virility using crocodile dung and peppercorns. At the back of the room is a wooden chest. When it creaks open, you recoil. Inside are preserved body parts, a dried tongue, a mummified hand, something that might be an eyeball floating in thick oil. These are ingredients in charms and poultices, not evidence of crime, at least not in Roman eyes. A bundle of scrolls nearby outlines dream interpretations, astrological charts, and prayers to Mercury to say before amputations. Medicine and magic, science and superstition, all tangled like snakes in this chamber of contradictions. You see a mouse skeleton hung over the doorway, tied with red string, for warding off disease. In one corner, a young assistant grinds unicorn horn, which is really just powdered narwhal tusk sold at absurd prices. There is logic here, of a kind, a system that works only if you believe hard enough and survive. In ancient Rome, the physician was priest, butcher, alchemist, and gambler, and the patient, merely an offering to be tested.
You follow the medicus to his final patient of the day. A senator's daughter lies pale and motionless on a carved ivory bed. Her body is covered in cloth soaked with vinegar, honey, and ground pearl, a last attempt to draw the fever out. Her breath is shallow. You watch the physician mix a final dose, a tonic of apobalsam, myrrh, and powdered emerald, stirred with a strip of linen blessed in a temple. He places the bowl in your hands. You are to administer it. But something in you hesitates. You see the black bruises beneath her arms, the split in her lip from a previous treatment. Her eyes flicker open for a second, not with trust, but with quiet fear. Around you, the room is filled with the trappings of Roman healing, painted gods on the walls, a silver snake wrapped around a staff, prayers inscribed in bone. But none of it feels sacred. You remember the earlier rituals, the strigils, the bathhouses, the latrines, and you realize something profound. Rome did not build its greatness on cleanliness or compassion. It built it on order, no matter the cost. If the treatment harmed you, that meant you were too weak for Rome. If the cure killed you, the disease was blamed. You place the bowl down, untouched. The medicus frowns, but does not speak. You step back from the girl's bedside and walk into the fading Roman light, leaving behind the clink of tools, the scent of vinegar and death. You are no longer a visitor to their medicine. You are a witness, and you carry a truth more lasting than any scroll. Sometimes, survival means walking away from what they call healing.
You arrive at the Thermae of Caracalla, Rome's grandest public bath complex, a place that is part social club, part gymnasium, part sanctuary. From the outside, it looks like a palace, towering arches, mosaic columns, statues of gods and emperors lining the walkway. You step inside. The air is thick with heat and steam. Marble floors shimmer beneath your sandals. Slaves move quietly across the room, carrying baskets of towels, perfumes, and amphorae filled with oil. Your eyes are drawn upward. The ceiling is vaulted and painted with scenes of Neptune rising from the sea, dolphins leaping, nymphs bathing in celestial rivers. You have entered a Roman heaven. Or so it seems. You begin the journey through the traditional bathing order: a puditarium, changing room, tepidarium, warm room, caldarium, hot room, and finally frigidarium, cold plunge. Each chamber is designed to open your pores, release toxins, and restore balance. But as you move deeper in, past the grandeur, past the perfection of form and stone, a darker layer of truth begins to reveal itself. The steam doesn't mask the odor of unwashed bodies. The marble benches are slick, not with dew, but with the mingled oils, sweat, and skin of hundreds. You feel it on your soles, a thin, greasy film left behind by the rituals of cleanliness that may not be clean at all. You came seeking wellness, but Rome gives you the illusion of purity, wrapped in beauty, veined with risk. And now, like so many others before you, you step into the water, knowing what floats beneath the surface.
You descend the marble steps into the caldarium, the hottest room in the baths, a massive chamber filled with thick steam, echoing voices, and the steady dripping of condensation from vaulted ceilings. The heat wraps around you like a wet shroud. Your skin begins to bead with sweat before you even reach the edge of the water. The pool is vast, its surface glowing amber from the fire-heated floor beneath it. Bodies lounge half-submerged, some reclining like emperors, others hunched and coughing into their hands. You slide in slowly, feeling warmth soak into your limbs. And something else, a film of oil coats the surface. You watch as a clump of dark hair floats past your shoulder. A few feet away, someone sneezes into the water. You realize now, there is no filtration system. No fresh water has cycled through this pool today, or yesterday. The same body oils, scrapes of skin, and bodily fluids accumulate endlessly, warmed by fire and passed between bathers like invisible offerings. A man next to you scratches at a red, scaly patch on his thigh. Another, across the pool, has a fresh wound on his back, glistening and open. A child's cry pierces the air as he slips and hits the marble. And still, others chat, laugh, splash. To them, this is normal.
This is Rome's version of wellness, sensual, communal, and utterly unclean. The luxury of the baths hides a dangerous secret. They are perfect breeding grounds for every kind of illness Rome has ever named, and many it never could. You close your eyes, and beneath the surface, you feel the current shift, as if the bath itself is alive, whispering warnings no Roman will ever heed.
You rise from the coldarium and step through a stone archway into the tepidarium, the warm room, dimly lit and echoing with soft conversation. Here, Romans gather not just to bathe, but to gossip, negotiate, seduce, and scheme. Dozens of naked bodies recline on heated benches, their skins slick with sweat and oil. Some whisper behind raised hands, others gesture broadly, laughing as their voices bounce off the tiled walls. In the center stands a servant holding a bronze bucket filled with hot oil. Beside him, a line has formed, men and women alike waiting to be scraped. You watch as each person steps forward, receives a pour of the oil, and then turns to be scraped with a strigil, the same metal curve used in the earliest ritual of the day. There is no sterilization. The same strigil passes from body to body. The servant wipes it once on a rag and moves on. A woman groans softly as it scrapes across her back. Dead skin, dirt, and oil mix into a grayish paste which drops onto the floor, where it gathers in dark puddles. No one flinches, no one questions. This is not just cleansing, it is a ritual of belonging. To be part of Rome is to share its space, its tools, its sweat, its bacteria. You see a senator remove his gold ring and hand it to a servant before receiving his scraping. An elderly poet sits nearby, eyes closed, as oil drips from his earlobes. Here, class dissolves in steam. But so does protection. You are all porous now, open not only to heat and touch, but to every germ carried by every other body in this room. The ritual continues, and you are part of it now.
You stand at the edge of the frigidarium, Rome's cold water chamber, the final act of the bathing ritual. The water glistens like polished glass, motionless, pure. But you know better now. You've seen what floats beneath the surface of luxury. Still, you step forward. The shock hits instantly. The cold seizes your breath, tightens your skin, and slams your heart like a drumbeat from Jupiter himself. Every pore that opened in the steam now slams shut like the gates of a fortress. Your thoughts snap into clarity. Around you, other bathers gasp and yell as they dive into the freezing pool, laughter on their lips, goosebumps across their flesh, unaware of what clings to them beneath the surface. This water is not holy. It is recycled, reused, and recirculated. The same chill that refreshes you now once cooled men with sores, wounds, disease. But Romans believe in contrast. They believe the extremes of hot and cold, of pleasure and pain, bring the body into balance. And in this final plunge, you understand. Rome's idea of wellness is not about cleanliness. It's about endurance. The cold does not cleanse, it numbs. You emerge breathless, your body tingling, your mind sharper than ever. This, they say, is the rebirth. But as you step onto the marble once more, droplets sliding from your skin, you feel no renewal, only the quiet, chilling knowledge. You are not cleaner, only colder.
You walk to the apodicterium, the changing room, your final stop before leaving the bathhouse. The air here is cooler, drier, scented faintly with myrrh and mildew. Rows of wooden cubbies hold togas, sandals, and folded cloth.
Attendants scurry around, handing garments to damp patrons with practiced grace. A boy hands you a towel, rough, damp, and sour-smelling. It has dried other bodies today, and yesterday, and the day before that. There is no fresh linen. This is how it works in Rome. Towels are communal, not private. You wipe yourself dry, or try to. The towel merely pushes water around, mixing yours with that of the previous bather. You press it to your face and catch a whiff of someone else's skin, someone else's sweat, someone else's breath embedded in the fibers. You look around. A merchant dabs his armpits with the same towel he used for his feet. A child sneezes into his cloth and folds it back onto the pile. No one flinches, no one questions. This is the way of things. You redress in your toga, its fabric rough against your slightly oiled skin. Your sandals squish softly as you walk, still damp from the plunge. You've completed the ritual. You are, by Roman standards, purified. But you feel none of the lightness or freshness you hoped for. Instead, you carry invisible burdens. The towel left no mark, yet it left something behind. A trace, a presence, an echo of all the bodies that used it before you. You step back out into the sunlit street, looking like any other Roman citizen. But deep inside, you wonder, is this what it means to be clean?
Behind the grandeur of the bathhouse lies a corridor few patrons ever see, a narrow hallway that smells of oil, mildew, and something older. You slip through a side door, curiosity guiding your feet, and there, in the dimness, you see him. A slave crouches beside a clay basin. His tunic is stained, his hands coated in grayish paste. Before him, a bowl filled with the baize discarded skin, the clumps scraped from bodies with strigils, the oily remnants from hundreds of bathers, the sloughed-off remains of Rome's elite. He is the collector. Every day, this man kneels beside the refuse of Roman cleanliness and gathers it by hand. It is not garbage to him. It has value. He shapes it, dries it, sells it. Cosmetics makers come here. They buy these clumps to create balms, perfumes, even beauty powders. Apothecaries claim the skin contains powerful humors, that when burned it cures fevers, when crushed it strengthens the bones. Nothing is wasted in Rome, not even the sheddings of strangers. The slave looks up at you. His eyes are tired, unreadable, but not ashamed. He holds up a mass of gray goo as if to ask, what is the difference between this and you? You have no answer, because in this city, everything is ritual and everything is reused, even your body. You back away from the chamber, the sounds of scraping and squelching fading behind you. You return to the main hall where the baths echo with laughter and splashes, unaware of what happens in the shadows. But now you know. Even after you leave, parts of you will stay behind.
You pass through the atrium once more, where fresh bathers arrive and attendants refill the amphorae of cleansing oil. A boy pours from a heavy clay jar into smaller vessels, but the oil flows thick, dark, and familiar. It does not smell fresh, it smells aged, because it is. What they do not tell you in the marble halls of Rome is this: the oil is used again and again. After each bath, the scrapings, oil, sweat, dirt, dead skin, are not always discarded. They are collected, settled, filtered, the top layer skimmed off,
the worst sediment removed, and then it's poured back into the amphorae. A cycle of flesh and filth polished by ritual. You dip your fingers into a shallow basin of oil and rub it between thumb and forefinger. It clings like sap. Its smell is not unpleasant, not exactly. It carries rosemary and citrus and something else, something human. You imagine, how many people are in this oil? A dozen? 100? How many bodies does it remember? An old senator's chest, a gladiator's shoulder, a courtesan's back. Their sweat, their scent, their oils, layered like history, mixed into a potion of communal purity. In Rome, oil is not just a tool, it is a vessel of memory, of intimacy, of silent exchange. You coat your hands again, not out of necessity, but out of ritual. And as it sinks into your skin, you realize, this is the Roman way, not to cleanse, but to absorb.
Evening cloaks the city in gold as you step back into the streets of Rome, bodies slick with oil, sandals softly slapping against worn stone. You look like every other citizen, refreshed, composed, cleansed. But as you walk toward home, a quiet unease settles into your bones. The day's rituals, the scraping, the oiling, the shared sponges and recycled towels are behind you, yet they linger in your pores, in your nostrils, in your thoughts. You pass vendors shouting over baskets of figs. A child chases a dog through an alley, giggling. A woman pours water into a clay pot, steam rising from her doorway. Rome is alive, buzzing, fragrant, filthy. And beneath the marble, beneath the structure, lies the truth. Cleanliness here is a performance, a script acted daily with sacred precision, yet rooted in compromise. You turn a corner and spot a young slave carrying 2 amphorae. One drips oil from its rim, dark and glistening. He pauses to rest, and as he does, he wipes his brow with the back of a hand, one still slick with the oil of 100 others. He doesn't flinch. This is routine. And you realize, for him, for everyone, this is not horror. It is home. The bathhouses, the latrines, the perfumes of sweat and rosewater, the strigils and sponge sticks, they are Rome itself, as essential as the Senate or the sword. You open your door and step into your own villa. You light a small oil lamp. The scent of olive and wick fills the air. And as you lie down to rest, your skin still faintly sticky, your hair still damp, your mind drifts towards sleep. Not comforted, not disgusted. Just suspended. Somewhere between ritual and rot, between the illusion of clean and the softness of surrender.
The sounds of the eternal city fade. No more dripping oil. No more scraping bronze. No more whispered rituals in crumbling marble halls. You lie still now in a modern bed, beneath clean sheets. The soft hum of your present surrounds you. Quiet, controlled, safe. You can feel the gentle rhythm of your breath, the light touch of fabric against your skin. And yet, a part of you still lingers among the columns, still walks barefoot across the marble, still bathes in ancient oil beneath flickering torches. Because that is what history does. It clings like scent. It seeps like oil. It stays with you. Tonight, as you fall asleep, you are more than a body seeking rest. You are a time traveler, a witness, a dreamer caught between centuries.
And though the world of Rome was harsh, grimy, and bizarre, it was real. It was human. It was alive. You saw their truth, and now you carry it with you. So close your eyes. Let the weight of ancient dust fall away. Let the strigil be set down. Let the sponge be forgotten. Breathe in your own breath. Breathe out what you no longer need. Sleep will take you, slowly, softly, not through public bathhouses or crowded latrines, but through quiet corridors of your own mind, corridors that are clean, private, and utterly your own. You are not in Rome anymore. You are safe. You are still. You are home. Sleep well.